John. Thanks so much for coming to the library.
Yeah, have you seen Leanne and Marianne around?
They were just here a minute ago, and I lost them. They always wander off.
They're somewhere. I guess we'll have to go try to find them.
Yep, we'll keep searching.
Buckle up. It's time for Kewanee Memory Lane, where we cruise down the 4 lanes of Kewanee history with a detour of fun uncovering the past, coming to you straight from the Kewanee Historical Society in the heart of downtown Kewanee. Here are your hosts, Marianne and Leanne.
Hi, I'm Marianne.
And I'm Leanne. Welcome to Kewanee Memory Lane. And where are we, Marianne?
We are in the beautiful Carnegie Library in Kewanee, Illinois, celebrating the 150th birthday of this beautiful library.
Well, of the library, library.
Of the library, period, but not just this building.
Not just this building, yeah.
Right.
So, we're thankful that the library asked us to be a part of this celebration. And in case anybody cares, we do have a live studio audience today.
We have some friends that we brought along with us. We're so excited to
Yay.
see everybody. Hello.
So we have a couple special show and tells today. Marianne, what did you bring?
This is mine. It's one of my favorite pictures of the library. It was from 1954. It's an outside shot of the library. I just think it's really beautiful.
That is a really good picture. I love, and I'm sorry, not just that library,
car.
but the car.
The swanky. I love the car too.
It's way cool.
So it's just one of my favorites. I just have a lot of fond memories of the library.
Sure.
And it just,
Yeah.
So what is yours?
Mine is, I found this while searching through the, what are those things called?
The
annual
archives?
report.
Oh, the annual reports, yes.
You can learn so much in the annual reports of anybody. And so in the old ones, after this library was built, they were proud of it. So they took this picture was in a lot of the libraries of the annual reports.
Beautiful.
And I noticed first thing was this. Do you know what that is?
That's the desk that the library donated to us from 1906. So
Yes.
that was like the original desk.
The original
Yeah.
circulation desk.
We're so honored to
is
have
what
that in the museum.
Yes, and what we usually broadcast behind.
That is our Kewanee Memory Lane
That's our home
desk.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. I just thought that was
I couldn't
so
carry
cool.
it over today, sorry.
Yeah. Well, there's 3 pieces. We could have each carried one.
Yeah,
Anyway.
come on, put me in a slacker.
Yeah.
John's
Yeah,
off
so that
camera,
was-
I like to talk to him.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, that's mine.
Nice.
Yeah, I thought that was way cool.
We have other things to show too, so yeah. So,
Yeah.
do you, I brought my library card because I thought afterwards I might check out some books.
I do most of mine on Hoopla.
Oh,
So I do a lot of reading
what is
online.
Hoopla?
It's a I'm glad you asked, Marianne. No, it's a free app that
Okay.
you register your library number in, and you can download books to read or music or.
I think I watched Father Brown on that once.
Oh, really?
That- from
Yeah?
BritBox, yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, so you can download movies.
Sorry, I didn't know what Hoopla was. I was
Yeah,
just,
And there's other apps too that are free that you can download books from Kewanee Library. Yeah,
A lot of
and
things.
read and
Yeah.
or audio books too. So yeah,
When's the last time you checked out a book?
with a card.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Okay. Me a couple months ago, I think. Yeah.
I was to say online about a week ago.
I remember when I was a kid, they would limit you to how many books you could check
Yeah,
out.
right.
Now they're like, take as many as you want. It helps the census, you know.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
I'm like, usually I take a cart.
You got a
No.
tote.
Yeah, there you go. That's why I go to the chiropractor. Just kidding.
So we wanted to start off with a basic timeline of the library system in Kewanee.
I have some facts. I'm not going to bore
Yeah,
everybody read them
right,
all, but I
right.
just wanted to kind of give some highlights. So,
Sure.
Kewanee voters voted for a 1 mil tax on each dollar in 1874. So that was basically, I forget how much money we said that was, like a thousandth of a cent.
Yeah,
So I don't even know how that even, but I don't understand taxes and I just know if I
Anyway,
have
we
money
got a
or
little.
not. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
passed the tax.
Yeah, they
a
passed
city
the tax.
tax.
Yep. So in 1875, they had a meeting of citizens to help organize a library association. They had a committee appointed to draw up a constitution.
I didn't see the Constitution.
I didn't
Did
either.
I don't know.
Susan was so helpful.
Susan helped us so much. She's
Susan
just
Carlson.
scan, and here's a thumb
Lots of
drive.
resources, yeah.
Wait, I don't know that I've looked through half of that.
I've never used my highlighter so much. But anyway, they did. They had 14 members that paid dues of 25 cents.
Wow.
25 cents. I don't know what that would be today, and I didn't like do the math, so you know.
Well, it can't be that much though.
No. No. But they had a president, secretary, vice president, treasurer. So a lot of the names we're going to recognize from Kewanee history,
right.
W.H. Russell, James Blish, Adolph Mall, W.T. Cross, R.P. Parrish,
R.P. Parrish.
and Charles Ladd. And I think Parrish is on the mural on the side
Yeah,
of the
right. He
museum
was
with some other
Randall
Kewanee
Parrish.
authors. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they decided, okay, we're going to do this. They opened a library and reading room in Library Hall, which they start.
Here's a picture of them building Library Hall, and then here is a picture probably from a plat book, probably
Yeah.
of the completed Library Hall. So yeah, and that was
Tremont and Third.
Tremont and Third. Yeah,
1875.
1875.
Then they decided. Oh, and when they opened, they had 262 volumes. So
Do you know how
262 books.
Here's my tidbit. Do you know how they knew what books to buy? They asked people, "What book do you want to read?"
Oh,
Now I don't know how. I mean, I guess newspapers would have lists of books, but how would you know?
yeah. In 1875,
I want a book of Shakespeare. I want a Western. You know, I don't know how they
did they have phones? Did they put up a poster? I don't know what they did.
But
yeah.
anyway, I read
Now
that.
I can ask Susan or somebody to
Recommend.
order me and
Or,
recommend
yeah,
an interlibrary loan. And
Right,
So
sure.
So anyway, then they got bigger. They decided to move to the Oddfellows building on the corner of Second and Tremont,
which is still standing.
and we did a podcast on that season 1.
Yes, season 1.
3 floors, if anybody remembers.
And then this is a picture. Oops. This is a picture of the first, not the first, but
the first library board.
Yeah, first library board in
The names I named
1875.
off, yep.
Yeah,
They
of
were
those
still
names.
around, yep.
Yeah, and we have this, and it's on the second floor. So these rooms are now offices, but that's way cool.
We did tour that building. Very cool.
Yeah.
All 3 floors and the basement. But
They just
yeah.
look like they're having such a grand time.
So they were there in 1880, and they did that for about 25 years, and they were like, no, I'm sorry, 20. Alexander McLean, who was a Kewanee businessman, he decided to write Andrew Carnegie to ask for a donation to build a new library. And Carnegie said, I'll give you $20,000, but you got to find suitable land.
Okay.
And you and I were looking at some plat
Yeah.
books at the museum the other day, and we found, it was what? It was lots 9, part of lot 9 and 10, which is where we're sitting now.
Yeah, like 10 and the north part of lot 9.
Yeah, different. Yeah. So they were able to acquire that. And the board of directors paid $10,000 to Mr. and Mrs. Lyman and Mr. and Mrs. Lay and Mr. and Mrs. Pierce. And back then, in 1901, those were like the movers and shakers of Kewanee.
Yeah.
So, yeah. thought that
Pierce
was
had the funeral home. Lyman and Lay had the
3-story.
3-story building.
Yep.
And what was the other one? Oh, Lyman and Lay. Yeah. Yeah.
So they got some Chicago architects to select and design it and begin building it. It was Patton and Miller, and it was finally finished by March 24th, 1908. The new building was occupied as of that date. So this building has been in use since March of 1908.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Yeah.
I was looking through the annual reports, and I specifically looked for when they were moving from the Oddfellows. And so like 1907, they were talking about having to, first they took all the things that were not being used, like all the old books, and they packaged those first.
Oh, wow.
From the second floor. And then they just shut down the library, and and moved it over. And while they did that, they categorized it. I mean, they Dewey Decimaled it.
They did the Dewey Decimal. Yeah.
Yes. Can you imagine that? Oh my gosh,
No,
by hand.
No.
Ah.
Otherwise, how did you find the books before? Like, even if you just had,
But there was not that many. You know, there may have been 1,000 books total. I assume there would be like,
like the books behind me, though, if they're not alphabetized or by Dewey Decimal.
well, I bet you that they were alphabetized. But, you know, if there's only 1,000 books, you got history books.
Yeah, maybe.
You got
We can't
cookbooks.
ask them, so I don't know.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah.
It's all, you know.
So,
Yeah. So the main library, everybody moved in. But I think that pretty soon there was other places where you could get books because the library grew.
I'm glad you
was
brought
still
that up.
wanted.
I'm glad
Yeah.
you brought that up because I wanted to talk about the different branches of the library.
Okay.
I did not know. And there was one right in my neighborhood where I was growing up.
Really?
On the corner of 10th and Elm.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's now a private home. But I just wanted to say, I have to read off this a little bit, but people living in Kewanee Township were free borrowers. However, the library was not easily accessible to those living outside of the city. Separate collections for school children were sent to the schools in the township and to some more distant schools. In 1911, separate collections of children's books were made available to teachers in schools in Kewanee and Weathersfield townships. Between 1914 and 1929, small branch libraries were established in the girls' dining room of the Boss Manufacturing Company.
Okay.
Why not the boys? I don't know. The Walworth Company's girls' room, again, girls. Why not?
Because they read.
I don't know. The
Boys started fires.
The Brandenburg Church.
Hey, I know where that is.
Where is that?
That's me and John's church. John and mine, whatever.
Okay. So that's out northeast of town. Kewanee Public Hospital and St. Francis Hospital. And in 1946, a north branch was established at the northeast corner of Elm and 10th.
Elm and 10th. So that's going to be right by,
It's diagonal from Lyle School.
okay, it's right by Lyle School, right by the entrance to Northeast. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I have a picture that I wanted to show you. This is an old picture that Mike and Bobby Rapsack loaned to us.
So Mike, they live there now, right? They live
So
in
this
that house in
house,
the corner.
it does look a little different than this
Yeah.
because what they did was they chopped off 10 feet off the top
Right.
and they put on a new roof. And,
Yeah.
But this was the original door here.
It was on the corner, wasn't it? Yeah.
So the Rapsack family in 1946, when they bought this home,
Okay.
they lived on the back side and in the top, but the library was in the front here. But prior to that, it was a neighborhood grocery store. And I don't know the name of that right now.
Okay.
I'll have to figure
We'll
that
have
out
to look,
later.
yeah.
It's
It's
something
probably
I
on your
forgot.
list.
It's on my list. So Mike told me when, he lowered the roof and everything, and now this is just a full residence, but it was just, wow. And I was talking to my Aunt Annie. She lives in New York now. She's retired. She remembers going to this library.
Really?
And checking out books, and it was really fun.
And the library supplied all the furniture for the branch libraries.
Cool.
Yeah, branch libraries.
Yeah.
And the Rapsacks recently donated a table from the library, didn't
Yes,
they?
it's
Thank
a
you
little
very much
smaller
to the
than
Rapsacks.
this, but it was from the North Branch.
Yeah.
It actually sat in the
It-
North Branch Library.
That's so cool. It'd make a very nice hall table.
Yeah.
It's oak. It's dark oak. It's really pretty.
It's very,
Yeah.
very cool. But here's another picture from like the side. If you were on Elm Street looking at, as they were kind of dismantling it, and his neighbors told him, "You're crazy. What are you doing?" Him and a couple of his friends, they were taking it apart, kind of redoing the whole thing.
Sure.
And now it's a beautiful home
Yeah.
with the pool and
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. But his dad said in 1953 it was time for the library to
Oh,
skedaddle, get out of here.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't
by
know
that
why.
time,
I don't know why.
Well, there was buses. There was the trolley. Everybody was more mobile.
True.
So
And they were establishing libraries in the schools.
yes,
a lot
right,
more than
right,
before.
Yeah.
So, one funny thing that I found about when I was reading all of this is people, when the library got to be really popular around 1917, people were like, "Oh my God, how do I get a library card?" Like they thought it was just like big red tape.
Oh, really?
Yeah, all you had to do was just sign your name and check out as many books as you wanted, and it might be just like, these old books here, they had a card, And we were talking earlier, you would
Yeah.
have your name up here, and then they would write all the books you checked out. They would know your history, like your search history, you know.
Need to clear that
But
cookie.
then right. And then when I was a kid, they had a machine that would stamp the date, and so the dates would be in the book, not your name. But yeah,
Right.
so I thought that was pretty neat. That in 1917 they were like, "How does this even work?" You know. And I also do want to mention the North Branch. It mostly served children on the north side of town that went to Lyle School, but also the adults, and it was open 3 nights a week.
Okay.
So, yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah,
Pretty cool.
yeah.
They had 250 users at the
North Branch? Or?
Yeah, at the biggest time it was used. It was
Oh,
like
okay.
250.
Peak use.
Peak. I couldn't think of the word.
Yeah,
Thank
I know.
you. You're
Yeah.
my other side of my brain.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the one that lasted the longest would probably be like Kewanee Hospital.
Okay.
They also had a branch there. Here's a couple ladies. Looks like one's pushing the cart, and then we have a nurse looking at the books. You know, to help out some patients.
And there was one at Kewanee Public and at St. Francis.
Yes,
Right?
and then I
Yeah.
don't know who recalls Stella Plukovich.
Why do I know that name? Oh, she was at the high school.
She was
wasn't
the dean of students of girls. Sorry, when I went to high school, we had a dean of boys, dean of girls, and Stella was the dean of girls and
I've
the
heard,
assistant
yeah.
principal. And I loved her, but she was like what 5 feet tall and very scared. You know, like everybody was scared of her. I don't, you know, she just. She when I had her in typing class, I know this isn't on topic, but she walked around with a ruler, and I
Okay.
became a good typist because. If she caught your fingers, your eyeballs looking at your fingers on the keyboard or your paper, she would hit you with the ruler.
Nice.
So you had to have the book over here with what you were typing, and then you would. That's I could do the whole keyboard without looking. Thanks, Stella.
Okay.
But anyway,
But you
so
digress,
she
but that's
retired.
okay.
She retired from Kewanee High School, and
Okay.
you know, she thought, "What am I going to do with myself?" And so
Oh,
she volunteered.
okay, so this was
This is
after-
related.
Oh, okay.
So in 1989, she became a volunteer at Kewanee Hospital, taking the book cart around.
And what year?
1989.
I didn't realize it was that.
I didn't know it was still going then.
Oh.
Yeah, who would have thought?
Okay.
You know, there were chunks of times where it was started and stopped,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't really understand why, like, you know, for like 20, 30 years, and I think somebody would kind of like get it going again.
Oh,
So,
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Bobby and Mike also, Rapsack, they found a bookmark from the North Branch Library, so this is front and back. And it just talked
Okay.
about their annual report, the hours,
Okay.
loan periods. You could check things out for 14 days. So from 1946, I thought it was pretty
That's
pretty
cool. That's cool.
Pretty cool that
Yeah,
it's
and it was
still-
a bookmark because you could use it.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty neat.
Okay.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm really stuck on is why did it just the girls had the reading rooms and not the boys?
I don't know. Why? I wonder if the boys had reading rooms. I mean, did the boys have like club rooms?
I don't know. They played pool. We read books.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Started
I'm just
fires
kidding.
or something. That's what I think. You know, what do guys do when they get together? I don't know. Talk about
Play
baseball
marbles.
and play marbles. Jacks.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Oh, but anyway, so you know, I mentioned how the library wasn't accessible to everyone, and there were hard times in Kewanee.
Yeah.
So I thought you were going to tell us a little bit about some of those times.
Yeah,
that-
yeah. So what I focused on was the library in the community. And I'm telling you, if I ever go back to school, which I won't,
You could.
this would be a good dissertation topic.
Okay,
It's
okay.
meaty if I liked sociology, but I got a D. Anyway.
You got a D in sociology.
Yeah, it
Why?
was-
Did you do your homework?
Well, I may not have gone to lectures a lot, but you know.
Oh.
Anyway, I passed. It filled a prerequisite. Okay.
Okay.
Anyway,
I'm not gonna.
Anyway,
Yeah.
So, so what I did was I focused on the library annual reports, and there are annual reports from 1906 to now.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's still like all here. If you ask a librarian to help you, like,
I don't
you could
know.
Look at it.
I don't know, Susan.
Maybe.
Oh, Susan
maybe.
doesn't know. Maybe we were just lucky. Well, let me just tell you about it. Okay, so I wanted to see what the directors and everybody were saying about current events in Kewanee and how the library affected the community.
Ooh.
So, I know.
The current events from over 100 years ago.
Yeah, right? and how they handled the needs of the community during historic events. And of course that led me down a rabbit hole, but anyway.
We like rabbit holes.
Yeah, you know. So I began in late teens because I was wondering about World War One. You know, so the World War One was 1914 to 18, and the U.S. entered in April of 17.
My dad.
See,
My grandpa was in. My maternal grandfather was in World War One.
okay,
I know, hard to believe, but he was. But anyway,
Okay.
it's just an aside. I thought you should know.
okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So by this time, the library was in the Carnegie, obviously. And one of the things that I found in the 1916 was we found this map from a architect,
Yeah.
and it shows the original plans. I have them here of how the library was supposed to be used. And if you look, you can see our circulation desk here.
Yeah.
That's
for
cool.
sure.
So
I love it.
But when you walked in the front door, which we're right over here, where we are, we would be sitting in the children's reading room.
Nice. Nice.
So in the winters of 16 and 17, there were story hours on Saturday afternoons,
Oh, okay.
and the average number of kids, 100 kids.
No way.
Can you imagine 100 kids in one room?
No
for story
TV. No Saturday cartoons.
I know. It said it varied from 50 kids to 200.
Wow.
What the?
That's a lot of kids. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Well, and I would hope there would be parents along. Gosh, God bless librarians. So,
No wonder they're always saying,
shh. Anyway. So the 1917 report says that the school library numbers were down because, books were sent to all the schools because of the quarantine. And this is 1917. And I was
not
like,
COVID.
It wasn't COVID. It also wasn't the flu because I was expecting it to be the flu.
Oh,
It was polio.
polio.
Did you know there was a polio quarantine?
I didn't know that.
Yes, there was a polio quarantine. I read an article about it because, of course, at midnight last night I had to find out about this quarantine. The first polio epidemic in Illinois was reported in 1916, according to the IDPH, and there were 1,000 cases reported.
Wow.
So they closed the schools, but the library stayed open. But anyway, that's a whole nother podcast.
But the kids couldn't come to the library.
No,
was a
not
joke.
the.
It
I was
was a
saying not
joke.
the
It was a
infected kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously 1955 was the vaccine date. But anyway, I digress. In 1918, so we're now in the war. Fiction circulation decreased by 900 volumes, and history increased by 300. So that's how I was starting to gauge of what the people in the town
We're interested.
was interested in. So fiction went down, history went up. So, and history, they said, was the librarian in the annual report said history was a larger book and it took longer to read. Most history books. And, sometimes you have to slog through those.
Yeah.
They are not the
Dry reading.
Dry.
Yeah.
So the library took the stance that more was being read, even though not as many books were checked out. So I could see that. And then later, $500, which guess how much that is? I'll tell you.
33,000.
11,000.
Oh, I'm
11,000 and change today, and 2,000 books, and were collected to ship to soldiers and sailors.
Wow.
2,000 books, and that's not library books. That is people brought books from their homes.
Like the original Friends of the Library.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
and then they gave them away.
yeah, that's great.
But can you imagine? I mean,
Who paid for the shipping?
the library.
Wow.
What the heck?
Wow.
And there were also heavy calls for books on history, war, food production.
Fruit, yeah. Yeah, I could see why.
So that's where Victory Gardens, started and stuff like that. War was also caused major delays in book shipments because,
I could see that.
Okay, and then in 1918 in the fall, see the library year went April to April, which was kind of weird, but anyway.
Their fiscal year. Okay.
What?
Maybe it's a fiscal year thing for them. I don't know.
Yeah, a fiscal year. I
Yeah,
thought you
yeah.
said school year. I'm like, no.
No, sorry.
Okay. So the branches were closed because of the flu epidemic.
Okay.
Because the schools were closed for the
Okay.
flu epidemic.
Okay.
So, yeah. So in 1919, so after the war, the annual reports kind of got sassier.
Oh.
Well, not spicy sassy, but just sassy. And the librarians were often called to settle bets.
What?
You know when you say, what show did that person play in? And everybody has to go to IMDb. Well, they call it the librarian.
Oh.
And so the topics noted were the nationality of President Wilson's grandfather, which was Irish American, just so you know, and the religion of Kaiser Wilhelm.
Why? Oh my gosh.
And that's Lutheran.
Okay. Okay.
So everybody knows now.
Okay.
In 1920, circulation grew 18,000 pieces.
Oh wow.
So
I mean, this library opened in 1908. This building here. So within 12 years, I mean.
well, I'm talking like grew 18,000 over the previous year because of the war.
That's even wow.
Yeah,
Okay,
because of the
okay.
war. And so they were talking that it was a gratifying gain all over the country, and there is a general feeling that is one of the expressions of the relief from the strain of war. And in fact, most frequent comment was, I don't want to read anything about the war. Which I don't blame them.
I can
mean,
understand
yeah,
that.
you lived through it.
Yeah.
And in that report, there was a article about Americanization, and that really hit home because of Kewanee now, basically. So they had a Walworth School, and it was to acclimate immigrant workers
For natural. Oh, like.
teaching them English,
Okay,
helping them fill out forms, that
Okay.
sort of thing, and how to,
Was this maybe thinking they might become naturalized citizens?
yeah,
or-
I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I think they were probably citizens,
Okay.
but they didn't speak the language and that sort of
Okay.
thing. And they said, let's see.
Because I know when my grandparents became
Yeah.
sharing.
Yeah, yeah.
My grandparents became U.S. citizens. They had to take the Constitution test
Sure,
and
right.
take classes. My
They may have been studying
my
for that,
dad's
yeah.
mom, I know, like in the late 30s, she was studying at Franklin.
Yeah.
It was Franklin School. They had classes there, and she was taking how to be a citizen and just like to prep.
Yeah.
And I also found like their names in the court dockets, like when they became
Cool.
citizens. So
Yeah, my mom took the test in 1963. She still has all her paperwork
Nice.
from it. Yeah.
Very cool.
But anyway, but that's an aside. The librarian assisted as a teacher there, and they found it difficult to make a book collection for adult foreigners. But it is a problem that needs careful study in this community and offers perhaps the largest opportunity for civic service.
Well, they say that Kewanee has, and a lot of areas has been such a melting pot and so
Right,
many different
yeah.
ethnicities.
Especially
and so how
with
would
all
you
the
accommodate
manufacturing.
all those different languages and to know, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad that the library was trying to serve every little
Everyone.
niche in the community. So after that, I skipped to the Great Depression, and I found the first sign of trouble was a check deposited in 1929 that said savings bank failure. And they got $11.02. And they got that for many years. And it was always called the savings bank. And guess what savings bank that was, Marianne?
Bergen Gould,
Bergen Gould. Yes.
corner Tremont and Second.
Yep. We're
Diagonal from the museum for those that want to know,
in the white building.
which is now the social corner.
Yeah. Always mark that white building whenever you look in pictures because it's always there. But yes.
So you're saying they had $11.02 in their account?
No. No. I'm
Okay.
saying that's how much they were getting back from the failure. I don't think they ever recouped what they lost.
How does the library function then?
I think it was diversification.
Okay. Okay.
I don't think all their eggs were in that one basket.
Okay, good. Diversification's good.
Yes. And so this was the start of the Great Depression, so 1929 was the start of the Great Depression. And they didn't have enough books to meet the school demands.
Oh.
Yeah. So E.E. Baker Incorporated.
We like E.E. Baker.
Yeah. The podcast before this will have been on E.E. Baker. So he made a foundation in 1929. Well, he didn't make a foundation.
After his death.
After his death, they made a foundation called Emmert E. Baker Incorporated and gave $5,000 to help buy books and pledged $1,000 per year for 5 years.
That is cool.
That same year, they also, I think you have a photograph. Oh, hey, I
It's
found it.
magically there.
Baker Incorporated also gave $5,000 to complete the second floor of the stacks here. I don't know who remembers the second floor, like right
The
out
glass
there
floor.
with the glass floor. That was so
Loved
cool.
it.
That was
Just
so
loved
cool.
it.
Yeah.
So you'd walk up these little stairs,
Yeah.
and you're up there, and you can kind of. It's almost like a 1.5 floor.
Yeah,
it was,
yeah.
Because you could see people. And,
Right, yes. So here's a picture of a lady getting a picture.
We don't know
getting
who
picture,
she is,
getting a
but it
book,
was-
and on that glass floor, and you can see behind her what would be the walls out here. Yeah,
But it was like a wrought iron gate.
Yeah.
So you couldn't fall down. And
when I first came here, it was there, and I remember going up there.
it was very cool.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, and I don't know how easy it'd be to see, but we couldn't bring it down because it was attached to the wall.
We said we could maybe reattach it, but that wasn't taken very well.
Anyway, so upstairs in the community room is a section of that glass floor.
If you wanna see the glass
If you
floor.
actually want to see part of the glass floor, it is upstairs. So after, in 1931, the circulation had an increase of 17,000 over 1930, practically a record gain, and it's a record year. This rather unusual increase seems to be due to two causes. One, the increased book budget through the splendid gifts of Adler, Baker, and Lay. And I think we have, I don't know, remember which book it was. We did some hunting
Oh,
beforehand.
that is a lay. Oh,
Yeah.
Hiram Lay. Yes.
So this is a book that was it wasn't donated by the Lay, but it was purchased by the Lay Fund. So the Bakers, and is that another one?
And this is the Lay family in memoriam of their son Edward Poole Lay. And I remember seeing this picture when I was a kid.
Why is
he in it like a
Matador
outfit? I was like, who is? So as a kid, I was always like, who's the Matador? I don't know.
Those wacky rich people.
But their families were so great to the library over the years.
Sure.
Even like selling this plot of land to build this new building for a cheaper sum.
Right,
and just,
right.
all the donations of books. So there are still some books here in the library with their pictures and.
So basically, during the Depression, they wanted books on trade, vocations,
How to make money.
how to make money, how to budget, how to plan, beekeeping, food production.
Because
and
that's
that
like
sort
a
of
new thing, a new trend now.
It's not a new trend.
It's not
People
new,
have
but-
always had honey.
I know, but
I think it's just now, mainstream.
yeah.
Keep it in your backyard kind of thing.
Yeah.
In 1934, the children's room moved from here upstairs.
But not where it is now. It would
Right.
be where the meeting room is now. Because remember the bird Spike was up, but not in that year, but later
Yeah.
the bird was up there, Spike. How many spikes were there? I don't know, but
I don't know. That is a question for.
yeah.
So, in 1936, which is still during the Great Depression, there was a decline in circulation for 2 years as indication of increased employment. So that's good. Our loss has not yet exhausted the amount of our gain during the high peak of 1932 to 33, attributed to the Depression. The library it was 103,000 circulation in 1933.
Wow.
And now we're down to, I think, like 90 something.
So yeah, it's down a little bit.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry.
But still
it was
very
like,
much
yes,
utilized.
yeah, it was still utilized, but it was still like, it was
A
like
decrease.
70,000 pieces. And also the library was closed for a week due to a coal shortage because it was the 5th coldest winter on record.
Ooh.
Isn't it fascinating what you can learn from a stinking annual report?
Yeah, yeah.
Anybody who has to write annual reports, John, needs to be very flowery and tell all the.
Have you closed Union Federal due to a coal shortage, John?
We don't have
That's
Hashtag trick
interesting.
question.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Okay,
interesting.
and also in 1939, WPA workers were assigned to the library and mended and reinforced 2,700.
What's the WPA?
Hey, I wrote that down. Works Progress Administration. It was a new deal. FDR paid for. FDR, president, had the new deal, and it was paid. This program was paid for by the federal government. So this library didn't have to pay these people, and they came in.
I think they did a lot of works like at Baker Park and I can't remember where else, but
Yeah.
all over town. They had WPA projects all over. We have some of those records at the museum
Yeah.
with some of the names on them, who they were.
And at this time, there was a so this, the Kewanee High School was always over where
Behind,
Central is, behind Central,
Yep.
on
Lyle
Central.
Street.
Yeah, on
Yeah.
Lyle. And in 1939, they actually paid a librarian half salary from here and half salary from Kewanee schools to work in the library there because there were too many people here at the library
Wow.
to relieve some congestion
Okay,
at
okay.
night after school. The library was open till 9 p.m. I'm not saying it needs to be open till 9 p.m.
Wow.
I'm just saying it was
9 to 9?
every day.
Wow.
That's just crazy.
Who had to work the 12-hour shift?
Oh, I don't think.
Sorry.
Anyway, I did go into World War II. Same thing basically as World War I. They wanted technical books, Victory Book Campaign, where Kewanee itself collected 1,500 books to be distributed to Camp Grant in Rockford and the Savannah Ordnance Station.
Wow.
And the circulation went down because everybody was either in war production, because there were a lot of factories here that did war production.
I know Walworth and Boiler really
Right,
were involved
right.
in the war effort.
And everybody was engaged in government and defense work. So
Yeah.
yeah. So and after the war, people had been trying to adjust to wartime and how to clean up after war, and some of the difficulties of wartime living. They were looking for books on dressmaking, victory gardening, and more beekeeping, rabbit raising.
Ooh.
So I
We
guess
gonna eat them or?
I guess so.
I guess.
In town though, I guess, because
Could they have chickens in town then? Because our city government doesn't want them having
I
chickens
don't know.
now.
I'm not opening that can.
I don't know. I just think it's funny. But anyway.
So, and maps and pictures were also loaned out because people wanted to know where their family members were coming from or where they had been.
Okay.
And a lot of these things, you might ask yourself, well, okay, so Kewanee, what about Wethersfield?
Right.
I mean,
what about
we are,
Wethersfield?
granted it was its own town then, and libraries were set up by the township.
Right.
So
And they-
Wethersfield would have had to fend for themselves, come to library stuff. However,
You had a conversation with Dave Clark.
yes, but that's later.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
In 1919, Wethersfield High School paid Kewanee Library $50 a year so that their students could use the library
Okay.
during the school months. So I guess you were,
But June,
SOL.
July, August, too bad. I mean, whatever.
yeah, you're going to have to, I don't know, borrow a book from somebody else.
Return it later, pay the fine.
Yeah. And in the 1930s, Wethersfield Township paid $100 per year for use. And in 1959, this is where Dave Clark came in.
Sorry.
That's
Okay,
okay.
okay.
We had talked to him at Coffee Talk last
Last Saturday.
and asked him, why didn't Weathersfield have a library? Well, it was just easier to
Just ship them over
yeah,
here.
have them come here. I mean,
Okay.
it's a mile.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
like it's a big deal.
It's a beautiful library, so.
Right, yes. And in 1959, Weathersfield Township passed a tax rate for the library and included the library board who met to take the money collected and give it, basically write a check to Kewanee Library.
Oh,
So, yeah. And in 1987, Harriet Conklin,
I know that name.
yeah, she was the head librarian here, and she worked hard to create the Kewanee Public Library District, which encompassed,
The whole 61443.
yes, and school districts.
Oh,
So if you came from the country,
okay,
you got-
great.
at least I'm pretty sure that's how it works, right?
That's
yes,
awesome.
that's how it works.
Way
So-
to go, Harriet.
Here's an aside. Harriet
Yeah.
Conklin,
Yeah.
she lived, in that house, in the Otley house,
Oh, yeah.
which, okay, we call all the houses in town by their original name.
Yeah.
So this is the big white house where Lorraine Decatur lives now on East
Oh.
and,
The Waller House.
yeah, the Waller
Wow.
house. Yes, because Harriet Conklin was a Waller. Yes.
She was?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
And her,
That's why we found some Waller stuff and some of the library stuff that Susan helped us dig out of the vault.
right?
Now this is all making sense.
Ding, ding, ding.
Whoa.
And Peter Waller,
Uh-huh.
who we have that big picture of now,
Yes.
that came out of that house.
With Claire Doe.
That was her twin. Yeah, right? Okay.
That was Harriet. What?
Yeah?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Sorry, these things sort of
Fascinating
fascinate
to us.
us.
Maybe not fascinating to
Everything's
others.
connected.
It is all
Everything's connected.
6
Okay.
degrees of Kevin Bacon in Kewanee, but it's, yeah. Yeah.
We can just say bacon in Kewanee. 6
Bacon.
degrees of bacon.
Oh, or the hog capital of the world.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Anyway, but we digress.
Sorry.
Okay. One thing we didn't talk about that I had touched on earlier was that in 1916 the Kewanee Library not only circulated books and magazines and periodicals, but they also circulated art.
I didn't realize to what, yeah. And
Yeah,
I didn't
and-
realize to what extent.
Yeah.
Until we did some research. Yeah.
And the second floor on that picture again, the second floor,
there's the museum.
the museum.
So it would have been the southwest corner of the museum up on the second floor.
Yes, it would have been what is now the community room. Yeah, that was the
So
art gallery. Gosh,
Yes.
I'm losing my words today.
we're thinking about dinner.
Yeah.
So, one of the features of the Kewanee Public Library was the Thomas Pierce art collection, and it was originally it was 134 reproductions valued at $1,500. But this handy book that was also in the vault, Xenophon. What was his last name? Caverno. He was an old printer, your B&B printing, but this was
Oh.
a printer back in the early 1900s. He was in
Kewanee Publishing Company.
Yeah, Kewanee
Uh-huh.
Publishing Company. He made this book, printed it, the Pierce Art Collection, and the last print that's mentioned in here, I think it's print number 146. So it's just crazy, but it describes all of the pieces. They were chronologically displayed and by countries. They really thought it was important that people understand pictorially the development over 7 centuries of artwork.
Oh,
They were very...
Was it only pictures or was there like a vase or something?
No, it was all paintings.
Okay.
But they were reproductions. because
Right,
they-
yes, well,
more
yeah.
bang for the buck with reproductions
right, right.
versus,
Yeah.
original
Yeah,
artwork.
yeah.
So they were hung on the south wall of the second floor gallery. They couldn't have all been on the south wall. I mean, this was, but Elizabeth Lyman and Henry Lay really took an interest in this and selected and arranged all the paintings.
Wow.
And I don't know what happened to those paintings, but this book is pretty cool. I've been thumbing through it.
Yeah, yeah.
Very
And
cool.
And it has a fold out in the back, doesn't it? It has a
Chronology.
Thank
It's a chronology of different time periods of art. And had I paid more attention to John Hartman's class at Blackhawk, I might have a better understanding of some of this. But nice guy.
But it showed, it wasn't just art. It showed like different types versus it was like a study of art.
Yes, they wanted people to understand art.
Understand.
But Leanne, the original plans of the library did not include a second floor.
Right.
So they had to add it. And in the stuff that's in the vault that Susan shared with us, 10 people said, we're going to donate $100 a piece if you guys build the second floor. So they gathered what the money that was needed. 10 times 100 is 1,000, right?
I think it was there.
I don't know.
It just needed to be finished.
Yeah, because we have these pictures, so I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I think
maybe it needed to be finished and
yeah,
completed.
yeah.
So it was James Blish, A.M. Hewlett, James Porter, W.H. Lyman, Frank Whiffen. We know that
Yeah.
name. He's all over the place.
Yeah.
H.T. Lay, Robert Moore, Fred Gunther, Randall Parrish again, Mrs. Addie Lyman, and Nellie Lyman Smith. They thought it was important that complete. So yes,
Yeah,
complete that floor so they would have a place for the artwork. I found that to be fascinating.
That is.
Other art in the library was in the reading room and the children's room, donated by the Ladies Reading Club and the Daughters of the American Revolution.
So that was this room and the room across the
So these
the
two
mirror,
front
yeah.
rooms, that artwork was donated by the
Okay.
DAR people
Okay.
and Ladies Reading Club. And also, Mr. Henry Lay donated etchings for the reference room. They were sent from Paris when he was there during the war. He said, I'm going to send some artwork to Kewanee from Paris while I'm at war. I thought that was fascinating. I
The
don't know.
logistics of that.
He made it happen.
Okay.
But anyway, I really knew about the artwork when I was a kid. Not all of this, but what I'm getting to now is that you could borrow art pieces from the Kewanee Public Library.
Yeah.
I didn't know. My mom,
I've never heard of that.
she would bring home a painting every month. I think it was every month or two. I can't remember the length, but okay, 2 months. Oh, 2 weeks. I'm sorry. I got corrected by my sister. Sorry. She's in the audience. But anyway, the big box would come in the back door. And what painting did Ma get this time? You know, and she'd hang it on the wall behind Dad's chair. We appreciated it, you know, but it was a neat way, free, you know.
Yeah,
and you could change it up.
You could
I'm
change
sick
it
of
all
this
the
one.
time.
Let me go get this one.
Yeah.
But this was started in 1966 by guess who? The Rotary Club of
The Rotary
Kewanee.
Club. Those darn Rotarians.
I found this. Don't mind my highlighting here,
Okay.
but this was a newspaper article from August 1st, 1966, and at that time they had added 8 new pictures ready for reservations.
Oh, fun.
I know, right?
And they had their own collection because it was added to
the
Rotary's
Rotary's collection. So my mom didn't know
Oh.
it. I didn't. We were borrowing from the Rotary collection. That's pretty.
John, you need to take care of that and have that done again.
But yeah, we need that to be resurrected. Get on it at your next meeting. But anyway, the Rotary Art Collection had its beginning in February of cc'S, and they gave 24 pictures to the library. Any adult with a Kewanee library card
Ding, ding, ding.
could borrow for 4 weeks, but maybe it changed to 2 weeks later. But the pictures, those 24 pictures in August of '66 had been circulated 121 times. So people were really wanting to borrow this
Well,
artwork.
plus that's every other week. So
I know.
that was
I know.
That's
I know.
awesome.
Due to the great popularity of this new service, waiting lists had to be established for many of the pictures, with several having as many as 8 patrons waiting to borrow the picture. I wonder if you could pay to get bumped up on that list.
I wonder if any
Make
of
a
them were on
donation to
Velvet.
the library. I'll up you on the list.
I wonder if anyone was
I
like
don't know.
dogs playing poker.
Ooh.
On
that would
Velvet.
I don't have the names of those. We don't have a book of the Rotarian art. But anyway, you know, P.H. Good, chairman of the Rotary Project. So I think that was at the original Phil Good.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So reports in the future that Kewanee Rotary will add at least 1 new picture a month, and that this picture of the month will be on public display for 1 week prior to circulation.
Ooh.
John, what happened to this collection? Where's the pictures?
Oh
Anyway, I will say, at one time, I think the library decided to do a silent auction. I don't know the details on how all of this came about. My mom did bid and won and paid for a painting that is in my dining room, and I didn't bring it. It's a European. It's like a picture of a European villa, like a French villa.
That's
I just love it. I
fun.
just love it. So
Oh my
it's just-
gosh.
it's just my cool thing from the library that I have.
Yeah.
My siblings didn't want it. I got it. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's about the art. So we had the Pierce art collection, other art donated, and then artwork to borrow. So not
is
just books, but a
awesome.
lot of artwork.
Yeah.
We were pretty cultured.
We are.
We still are.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So yeah, and all this happened in this beautiful building. And one of the things that we wanted to do as Kewanee Memory Lane is to memorialize what the library looks like in 2025. So we got some video and footage and pictures together, and we would like for you to look at those right now.
roll that bean footage, John.
Roll that beautiful bean footage.
in your stuff, you have a copy of Mrs. E. E. Baker's will.
Yeah.
So she
Yes.
contributed to where the children's room used to be. So the community room, she had that renovated. She in her will gave the library furniture for the children's room that specified where it had to be, other things like that. You know?
Yeah.
Very
And she
cool.
had artwork and vases that were part of displayed up in what is now the children's room, but was the lecture room back in the day.
That is cool. The
Wow.
Bakers really loved
Jenny,
kids.
wasn't
Yeah.
that Jenny Baker?
Jenny
Very
Baker.
cool.
Yep.
Very cool.
Helen was
Yep.
her main name.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Anyway. Just
Okay.
an aside.
So we would like to
Introduce
welcome Susan Carlson. And what is your title here at the library, Susan Carlson?
I'm the Information Services Associate, meaning all the nonfiction, history, local stuff you might want to see.
So
Okay.
people come in all the time with crazy questions. for
People
you.
come in all the time with crazy questions, and when you were mentioning IMBD,
Yeah.
we have to get on it every day because somebody calls and says, "Who was on the whatever blank episode of Seinfeld or 19?" You know, I mean, they call with the
What's
craziest
Newman's
questions.
middle name?
What's Newman's middle name? So yes,
That is so funny.
yep.
That you still have to answer those
Oh,
questions.
all the time.
Did you know what Kaiser Wilhelm's?
I did not know,
No,
but
he
I
was
could
Lutheran.
suspect that he was Lutheran since he was German.
Yes.
I was going with that basic idea.
That's funny.
Sticking with that.
Well,
Gotcha.
we have a couple questions for her, but she's gonna tell us how do you
How do you get all this stuff?
How do you
get
get-
one of these?
yeah.
That is so easy, and it's free. Free. How many things are free? Basically, you come in, you visit the lovely people that work at the main desk. You show them a photo ID so we can verify you're you and not some kind of spy from who knows where. And you got something with a Kewanee address on it. You're golden. Yeah.
Okay.
And they give you one.
That's
and then you
awesome.
get books, movies, TV shows.
And you get a key card too. So
You get a little one to stick on your keychain. So
Yeah,
you know how
I
you
don't-
got like
Oh,
29
I
of
did
them all
have one.
attached to your keychain
Yeah.
because now you've got your Y card, now you've got your pharmacy card. Yeah, you get one of those.
That's great.
I
yeah.
just-
And they're free.
Yeah.
I love it.
So before we started taping, I was asking Susan because I use the digital books. I use Hoopla a lot, and I was asking her if that because I did so much research on circulation numbers, whether that counts as circulation.
Everything counts. So
Okay.
in our world now, back then, when we look at all the old historic pictures, right? It's all about books. Now it's all
Yeah.
about everything.
Okay.
So it can be a book, it can be a movie, it can be an audiobook, it can be a music CD, it can be you downloaded a TV show from like Acorn TV.
Can it be a puzzle?
It can be those we just get out and play
Oh,
here.
okay. But you can also come here and put together a puzzle.
You can.
I've done that.
I
and
have
you can
too.
color, and you can come to free programs
Free programs are
for
fun.
everybody.
Yes.
You're
And
doing a
all of
murder
it's free.
mystery pretty soon.
We're
Yeah.
having a murder
So
mystery thing
excited.
coming
Yes.
up at the end.
So
of
excited.
Yes. I don't.
So there's
I-
all sorts of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's all free.
And we really want to thank you so much.
You guys are fun.
Well, I think she sees us and she's like, oh my God.
We take
I
our
will
research.
admit-
We take our research seriously. We do.
Yeah.
I know we can be.
Extra.
I hate to use that term, but yes.
Okay.
Just because we do because the material we're presenting, it's very important to us that it's accurate as
Yeah,
possible.
yeah.
We can be corrected and that's fine. Maybe we had a misstep or something, but really we take it seriously. And while we're having fun.
And all history we find so amazing. Especially like digging through the vault.
Yep.
You know.
we were so excited to go through the vault. I'm
Oh
like,
my
where's my
gosh.
white gloves?
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Getting stuff out. There's so much fun stuff that we realize you let us.
I think that she didn't realize how excited we were going to be about this.
Not at all. And can I tell them about the weird things we found?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Sure.
There's a sword in the vault. We have no idea why we have a sword. It's humongous and in its scabbard and everything. It has no
There's
indication.
no
nothing.
engraving on it.
We got nothing.
Okay.
We do
That's
know
the
that
weirdest
there's a lot
item.
of things in the vault that because there was not a historical society yet, they brought it to the library for safekeeping.
Yep.
So there's like contents of
Yep.
the Waller. Was it a Waller?
The Waller estate.
The Waller estate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
the
Yeah.
house
All
we talked about
sorts
before.
of random things.
Yeah.
Because it would have been a safe place.
Right,
It's in the basement, locked up safe.
If you could have been here, well, you were here that day. We were, oh my God,
Yes.
look at this. We need this scan.
All three of them, even the straight man John was excited about things.
And then I brought her a stack like this of annual reports, and I said, if you want, I'll take those back to the print
Yep.
shop and copy them. And she says, you go ahead.
Go right ahead.
Go right ahead. Yeah, it was fun.
But we want to thank you so much for allowing,
Well, first of all, for inviting us.
for
to
inviting
be a part
us.
of this.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. To
What,
come
150
present.
years is
Of
just
course.
amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
I'll have you back next year if John will let you come.
Oh,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But we also want to thank the library as a whole. And who else do we need to thank, Marianne?
Mike DeWall and Dave Clark, they already
Oh,
did
Dave
some
Clark,
of our
yes.
steps with the research, so
Right,
we were able to
yes.
pick up some pieces. So
Yeah, and
it was
thank you-
easy to piggyback on, a lot of the stuff that
Yeah,
they
and thank
had
you, Dave
done.
Clark, for coming in and telling me the
real
details
story, yeah.
about the Weathersfield.
And also to thank Bobby and Mike Rapsack. Mike brought in some photos that we were able to borrow and scan, and just to see, the piece and the table, the North Branch Library.
Right,
So,
right. And I want to thank the audience here. Thanks for coming and listening to us ramble for an hour.
Yeah,
Sorry.
It was fun. No, it was fun. It was fun. So anyway, I'm gonna go check out some books.
Okay.
All right. So
Okay.
I still have 3 on my phone. So.
okay. Well, I'm gonna go. I don't know. Find Sue Grafton or whatever.
Okay.
So, okay.
Okay.
All right.
And we'll see you at the museum.
See ya. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for cruising with us today. We hope you enjoyed the show and you'll join us for our next cruise down Kewanee Memory Lane.